The Greater Toronto Area has not had this little sales since the 2000s. Y2K 2000s, not like the 2000s, like 2000, year 2000, Y2K. But you got an article here saying that Toronto home sales surged most in 8 months despite falling prices. So what exactly is just going on? So I'm going to be breaking this down for you on this Market Watch that summarizes all the stats that we had in 2023 and what to expect as we're now in 2024. Now, again, if you are looking for some help on how to navigate this real estate market in 2024, whether you're looking to sell or to buy, so I see a lot of investors trying to deleverage, but at the same time, I'm seeing a lot of people understand that this is a market where if you're trying to upsize right now, meaning go from a smaller property and upsize, especially going from like say a semi or a freehold to a detached, there's actually a good amount of momentum that makes sense for you because that asset is moving the most right now. Right? So if you are that type of client right now, you want to chat about what your plans are in 2024 and whether it makes sense for your personal situation, you could book a call with me using the link that's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Simply click on the date and a time that works best for you. And then when you see the prompt, fill in your name, email, mobile phone number, and the question you have for me, and then we'll chat then. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. My name is Zen, and if you're enjoying the content we're putting out there right now, do me a solid and like and subscribe to help get a lot of the messages out there so people understand what the heck is happening in the 2024 real estate market. And we'll be going through the Market Watch numbers that came out for all of 2023, but I just wanted to show you 2 articles that you really have to understand what is exactly that you're looking at, because most people, if they have an intent to spin something certain way, you could really spin numbers whichever way you want, right? So you can see in this article here, Toronto home sales hits lowest since 2000. So that's 65,000 or call it 66,000 sales. And we haven't seen this little since 2000. But when you go into this article, it says that Toronto home sales surged most. Home sales being not like prices, but like the number of transactions. And they're saying that those number of homes changing hands in Canada's largest city, being Toronto, went up 21% to more than 6,000 transactions on a seasonally adjusted basis. So which one is it exactly, right? So I'm going to kind of just break down the numbers for you like as is. And this is one of the reasons why I personally don't like to use the seasonally adjusted numbers. So this right here came out from our Toronto Real Estate Board, right? And you can see that what they're quoting is the seasonally adjusted numbers. Personally, I do not know how they got there. When I looked at the article, I was like, what are they talking about? Because you can see here, we have 3,400 sales. Yes, it's up like a little bit more than 10% from last year, but last year was also pretty bad, but it's just, I don't understand this. So I basically went to look at the actual sales and show you why this article over here is saying that it's, since the 2000s, and these are like actual numbers, not adjusted for any reason. So you can essentially see down here, we had 65,000 sales in 2023, which is super, super, super low, lowest we've seen since the Y2K year, 2000, where we had 58,000. Keep in mind, Toronto as a city in the last 23 years has grown significantly, population growth. There's a lot more stock of housing. That's how bad the market is. And for anyone wondering why 2022 wasn't bad, you have to remember a bulk of the sales in 2022, like first quarter, it was crazy frenetic, right? So 2022, yeah, it was bad, but I would say 2023 is worse because the entire year was pretty bad with the exception of that little blip increase in the spring. So I wanted to dig down, deeper into how the sales number actually panned out and what, seasonally adjusted means, right? So I couldn't tell if they're taking maybe like seasonally adjusted in a sense that, hey, there are this many sales in December. Normally it's not that much, right? So in this chart, I broke down the month of December all the way back to when, we could start collecting data. And the amount of sales in December, you can see is in this column right here. So the middle column. Then the total amount of sales in the one to the right of it over here. And you can see that as a percentage, last year we had 5% of our sales in December. It's not an outrageous amount. And you can see that all the ones highlighted in green are over the 5.22%. So seeing that, like a third of the years having this much percentage of sales in December tells me this is probably fine. It's normal, right? So the idea that, again, that what they're talking about, seasonally adjusted 6,000 transactions, yeah, just double check some of the things you're reading because it doesn't make sense. But I would say this one actually is the correct one. We're at 23-year low in sales. It's bad. It is bad. So how does this look when we're kind of leading into the new year right now? So the weird thing I would say is that prices in November to December actually went up, which again is very abnormal. And I can show you in this chart over here that it only happened 3 times. Ironically, it happened in 1996, in the middle of like the 90s recession. Then you had it in 07, just before, the 08 great financial crisis, right? Then you have it in 2023. It's very weird that we get an average price increase in November to December and say, hey, the market's rebounding. I would say maybe just step on the brakes and just chill a little bit. Yeah, it's statistically kind of an anomaly, but I wouldn't say it's that much of an anomaly, right? Like I wouldn't try to derive too much from December and say how it's going to happen. Because most of the time, like I've said, I generally try not to even do like a market watch on December, because the numbers during the holidays are just so wacky and like sometimes volatile, and they don't make enough statistical sense to actually talk about them too much. That's why most of the stuff I'm showing you right now is just like the summation of the year and kind of how we're ended off and how we're starting with like the inventory, right? So when someone looks at this, yeah, fine, prices went up 0.23%, whatever, not the end of the world. It's fine. Just call it an outlier that has no importance, right? Now, where we did leave off in terms of the active listings is, and I said this in 2023 a few weeks ago, right? We should expect that active listings do come down, they get delisted, or whatever is remaining does get sold. And the question is, how much comes online? So you can see this is the last 5 years in terms of the active listings in GTA. And you can see we went straight down, just like all the other years. So this is normal. Right now, we're like just hovering around 10,000 active listings. And you can see every single year, with the exception of the orange line in 2022, which is when we kind of went a little bit bananas, right? Even I was talking about earlier in this video, where we had a lot of sales and prices went up like crazy. So if you take that out, you can kind of see right here, active listings stay around the same in January and February. And I have told this to a lot of clients who are selling. In a lot of instances, New Year's resolutions like New Year, New Me, and try buying real estate. And those who do start looking, if they are kind of motivated and want to get it done, there's generally not much stuff that's available to buy. So the good stuff usually does get picked up and there's multiple offers. But in our kind of market, especially like with a condo, if it's a little bit soft right now, I would say I wouldn't rush out to kind of like list the property right now. And again, like this is just like a general kind of idea, right? It's not that it applies for everyone, because everyone's product is a little bit different, right? But you can see here, and this is why I'm explaining this, listings don't pick up until generally February. They all kind of cluster around here. And then they kind of go up in March, and then April, and May. So that's kind of when spring season. So my question is, I want to see how much inventory that we're going to get at the start of next week, how much new listings, right? Because you have to remember, we had this huge spurt in listings in 2023, and that's kind of what caused a lot of the sentiment to change. And it was just so much listing that we haven't seen this so much in a long time before. And we got to like new highs of months of inventory and et cetera, et cetera. But at the moment right now, things seem okay. But again, back to that question, how much inventory are we going to get? I'm watching in January, and I'll tell you as what I see from boots on the ground data as well. And I'm going to see how much we get in spring, because that's going to dictate how much stuff that's out there. And when you blend that in sentiment, that'll give us a better idea of where prices are going to be. Now, the last chart I want to show you is the months of inventory, right? So again, this is just the number of active listings divided by the number of sales, meaning how many months would it take to absorb all the active listings if nothing else came online. So you can kind of see here, we were at really high amounts in like the 4s that we haven't seen in the last 4 years, meaning that, 2023, like there was a lot more kind of sellers than there were buyers. So that's why it was like a buyer's market-ish, right? Again, technically it's a balanced market at 4, but it felt like more buyer's market. So now that the months of inventory has come down, not because we had a lot of sales, but because a lot of people delisted, right? So we're going to see what's going to happen. So you can see in the previous 5 years, we kind of started between like half a month to about 2 months, and then maybe like 2.5 months. Now we're going to start at 3, and depending on how much inventory we're going to get, it's going to dictate the months of inventory. And circling back to how I say, look, in February, sometimes, the months of inventory goes down, and that's because a lot of people don't list their properties, and there's still some new buyers looking at that time. So that's why months of inventory does decrease in February. And then usually they kind of go up around March and April, depending on the sentiment and how much stuff there is, right? And if you're wondering what this peak is, this is the pandemic. All in all, I would say the take-home message for you is it's still a bit too early to see where the market's going. A lot of people are still watching the Bank of Canada announcements. The active listings haven't started coming out yet. They should be coming out next week. So make sure to stay tuned to this channel to kind of get an update on what's going on. But the current sentiment from the calls I'm taking right now, it's like mixed 50-50. There's half of them are sellers, half of them are buyers. So I wouldn't say it's like skewed towards one direction right now. At least that's what I see from my perspective. And if you are wanting to be one of my clients in 2024, whether you're buying, selling, you could book a call with me to chat about your unique situation using the link that's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya. Now that I'm done watching this video, I think you should check out this video. And you know what? Why don't you check out this video too?